Monday, May 7th. We have a quorum. Good evening. First item of business is citizen comment, citizen forum. Mr. Bobkowitz, do you want to start us off?
Madam Chair, members of the committee, good evening. As you know, a few meetings ago, we talked about changes to the City Council's rules pursuant to public comment. At that time, the committee asked that this item be placed back on a future committee agenda for further consideration of two possible scenarios in which to address changes to citizen comment. First is amending language about responses to public comment, and number two would be moving all comments on non-agenda items to the third Monday meeting of each month. All other City Council meetings would have public comment on agenda items only, as it currently does. So what I've done is I've put forward some language changes that would accomplish these. The first, in order to implement the first change, staff's proposing a revision to Rule 6.5, which would read, citizen comment is intended to foster dialogue in a respectful and civil manner. Citizen comments are requested to be made with these guidelines in mind. During periods of citizen participation, comments from aldermen should be limited to requests for information, referrals to the appropriate committee, or to the city manager for response. And then this new item, if necessary, aldermen may provide follow-up comments, feedback, or discussion in response to comments with the permission of the mayor. The second proposed change would then be a more substantial amendment to Rule 6, and I won't read through all of the changes, but I'll draw your attention to the new section 6.6, and which would read as follows. The council, as a part of the agenda, shall, at the beginning of the regular meeting on the third Monday of the month, also invite the public to provide comments on non-agenda items during a citizen forum for which council is allocated up to 15 minutes. During this portion of the meeting, each speaker addresses the council once on any issue of concern or interest. Citizen comment is intended to foster dialogue in a respectful and civil manner. Citizen comments are requested to be made with these guidelines in mind. Council has the opportunity to provide follow-up comments, feedback, or discussion during the course of the citizen forum. Interested persons shall sign their name and address on a designated citizen participation sheet prior to the beginning of the meeting. The speaker may address the council for no more than 3 minutes. Madam Chair, members of the committee, if you wish to pursue either of these changes, we'd ask that you provide direction this evening, and we would come back with the appropriate ordinance to amend the City Council's rules appropriately.
If I may, as a matter of clarification, looking at our minutes from the last meeting that we have not yet approved, that's the next agenda item from April 2nd, I believe there is a motion pending, Alderman Rainey's motion to do nothing regarding citizen comment, which was seconded by Alderman Braithwaite. So we are in discussion mode with that motion pending. Am I right?
I think that's correct.
All right. Alderman Nguyen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was not in town at the last meeting, but I have read the minutes. And I can support one portion of what the staff is recommending, the ability for the Rule 6.5, which permits the city manager or an alderman to make a referral or to correct information or get a response. I think that there are many times when that would be a very helpful thing to do during citizen comment, and that to sit here mute really is very frustrating for us, and it really misleads people in the audience or who are watching. So I very much could support that. I think that would be a helpful clarification of our rules. However, on the issue of limiting citizen comment to only agenda items and only having a citizen forum on the third Monday of the month, I don't agree with that. I think that for almost all of the time that I've been on the council, we have not had a problem with this. Only in very recent days has this become an issue. I recognize it's uncomfortable, but I really think that making people wait until a particular Monday is taking away their ability to address the council on any given night on an issue. There have been many times when we've had citizens come forward who aren't speaking on an agenda item, but they're raising a very legitimate issue. We all know how busy everyone is. I think having anyone who has an issue before the council, who wants to speak in public, remember that Monday that they have to get here is a limitation that I don't think is necessary. So I would not support that alteration.
Alderman Rainey?
I do support the provision that Alderman Nguyen mentioned about responses. However, to say that some of what some of us have to hear is uncomfortable is really putting it mildly. It's humiliating, it's degrading, it's disgusting, it's disrespectful, it's embarrassing. People all around the world can watch our council meetings and hear this kind of comments. And I support doing nothing. I think any of these changes, other than the one Alderman Nguyen pointed out, only apply to those people who are willing to comply. And in those cases that where behavior is not the norm or not even outside the box, so to speak, but is just off the charts, those rules are not going to apply. They will be ignored, they will be abused, and they will be disobeyed. And unless the mayor cuts off the microphone like she did the last time, I don't believe that any change in the rules will have any positive effect on a problem that we're attempting to solve. So I don't see any point in, changing these rules. It's just a very unfortunate situation, and perhaps the way that I can best deal with it, because it's getting worse and worse and more intense, is I can just leave the room. But everybody else will hear it, but I won't have to listen to it. And it is abusive. And at some point in time, I may have to get a lawyer to see if there's anything I can do about it. But I don't think this council can legislate a solution.
Mayor Tisdall?
The solution that I preferred was to move the comments for non-agenda items to the end of a council meeting. And I still think that does several things. One, there were children here at the last meeting to receive an award, which I gave them, and then I was thrilled that they left before public comments, because I did not want them to view public service in the way that they would have if they had stayed for public comments. So I think it would be helpful to have those comments at the very end of a city council meeting, so that everyone wouldn't have to sit through them. We would have to, but the rest of the audience would not.
Alderman Holmes?
I think I said at the last meeting, I'm not supporting the idea of the change. I think that citizens have a right to comment. It may be uncomfortable. Sometimes, the dog comes with the fleas, or the fleas come with the dog, and we have to remember that and not be put off by it. And I can imagine, I think Alderman Rainey just said, maybe getting up, leaving the room would help the person who maybe is being spoken about. But I think that if we participate in cutting off conversation, I have real issues with that. I don't support it going to the end of the council meeting, simply because there will be other people who may not have issues that are non-agenda items that are not personal, and I don't think that we should punish other people, to maybe reach a few, because I think that's what we're seeing is not going to be an all the time, I hope, an all the time kind of situation. So I think that we should leave things the way they are.
Alderman Fisk?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I agree with Alderman Rainey. This has been a very difficult thing to sit through, and we all ask for this when we run for public office. There's nothing new in this. I mean, if you just watch the first days of the presidential campaign, I mean, this is the way politics is played out. However, it has become very personal, and the problem is that, as Alderman Rainey said, we're not able to respond. We cannot respond, even though people are saying things that we all know are patently untrue. The fact is that the public doesn't know. And so we have to take extraordinary measures to make the public aware that the charges that are being spouted at the podium are baseless. My largest concern when I spoke with the mayor about this is not so much for myself or even for you, my colleagues, all of whom I respect highly, but for the people who might be thinking about public service and about running for office, or who even might be interested in serving on a board or commission. What's happened here over the past year, and it's not just a few weeks, this has been a year of this, of constant berating, baseless berating, that we've had to endure. And if it were just for myself, I'd say, fine, the people in my ward know what the truth is, and it's not going to affect me in the long run. But I do feel badly for my colleagues who have been dragged into this as well. But mostly my concern is for the folks out there who might be interested in running, who would watch this. And, someone came up to me, who you all know and respect, after, one of the environmental meetings and said, oh my gosh, we had no idea that goes on. And I think that's the larger concern. I was very happy when the mayor turned off the microphone. I think that was a big help. It sent a clear message, which I think was received, given the citizen comment that occurred at the last meeting. So I'm hopeful that will occur in future meetings. But I think we all need to look at the message that we're sending out to the wider community, and that is that we expect a certain amount of decorum, that speaking at citizen comment is a privilege, just as our service is a privilege, and that we expect the same amount of respect, not only for ourselves, but also for the 7,000, 8,000, 9,000 people who elected us in our wards, that they are deserving of that respect as well. So that said, I would say let's not change anything right now. Let's see how it goes, but come back and revisit this if it continues to be a problem.
Any other thoughts, comments? The motion is recorded in the minutes, is a motion to direct the Corporation Council to do nothing regarding the matter of altering the way we conduct citizen comment. With a second. Alderman Rainey.
Since I made the motion, I would accept Alderman Nguyen's comments as an amendment to the motion and include the provision in about responses. Can we do that?
Can you restate it all together for us?
Could Alderman Nguyen restate it? It's just the number of the...
It's
Yeah.
6.5.
6.5.
And Madam Chair, Alderman Nguyen, that language exists currently in the council's rules.
I'm sorry, then I misread this.
So this is a restatement of a portion of the rules.
It's already in the rules?
That one section is.
Well,
And I
let's
think,
implement.
and if I may, Madam Chair, it would be useful for me as your city manager, it's this evening or some future time, to get a better understanding from the council as to when you believe it's appropriate for the city manager to make clarifying comments. I don't know that there is. I normally wait and wait for the mayor or a member of the council to ask me to do that. I have not taken it upon myself to do that. So I will continue to wait for the mayor or a member of the council to ask for clarifying comments, and will not take it upon myself, short of something very ministerial, to do that.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
So Alderman Nguyen?
Well, I think, I'm sorry, I misread this, and I did not realize that all of that existed in the rules. I should have. And so I would support Alderman Rainey's motion to do nothing with the rules.
Alderman Burris?
Actually, just wanted to comment on Mr. Bobkowitz's question just now. It may be helpful to have, I guess, a predetermined comment back about when our certain folks have come and said the same thing over and over again. And I think Mayor Tisdale's comments, was it 2 meetings ago, about that Alderman Fisk has been looked at by the Ethics Board and has been cleared. I think if we hear that sort of thing again from public comment, it would be helpful if Mr. Bobkowitz had that canned language to reiterate again, so it's very clear that this has already been looked at and sort of rebuff that.
If I may, I just want to say, I think right now I'm tending to want to vote against the motion. I want to go in the direction that the mayor suggested of putting the non-agenda comment at the end of the meeting, mostly because then she's not the bad guy during the meeting by pulling the plug and flipping the switch on. And I'd rather that we do it in a way that directs most of those comments to the end of the meeting, and so we don't have an audience with those who might be more susceptible and listening to comments that we consider inappropriate and sometimes offensive and sometimes untrue. So that would be the only reason. I think they're better off at the end of the meeting. I understand what you've said, Alderman Holmes. Mm-hmm. All right. So the motion is Alderman Fisk.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I will say that in communities, our surrounding communities, that is the way they do it, with public comment that is on non-agenda items at the end of the meeting. It's not uncommon.
That's the way I'd like it. All right. So the motion is Alderman Rainey.
Yes,
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Madam Chairman. I'm looking at the rules that I have in my desk here, and we're talking about 6.5, Alderman Nguyen. Is that what we didn't
Yes.
realize was in there, right?
Right, that's
okay,
what's
so that's
referenced.
in the current memo. However, 6.6 in the council rules says the following: the right of a council member to address the council on a question of personal privilege having to do, it's under citizen participation, shall be limited to cases in which the member's integrity, character, or motives are assailed, questioned, or impugned. So well, I have a 6.6, huh?
Do you have a date on the rules?
524.
1983?
No, mine's
No.
no, and mine is May 24th, 04.
Yes.
And
something like
actually,
Mine's
Madam
June
Chair,
19th.
June
How did we
19,
eliminate
2009
that?
is the current edition of the
that. But
council's rules.
when did we actually, did we delete that provision?
At some point from 1983 to 2009.
No, there wasn't 1983, I'm joking.
Maybe when there were no longer 18 aldermen.
No, there weren't 18 aldermen here. This was in 2004, 2003.
Mine's 2000.
So we should be clear which rules we're talking about.
Well, I
The
think
current
that's-
council rules are June 19th, 2009, and those should be the rules online.
It says July 8th, 2011.
Well, then,
Whatever. All right. Never mind. I like that one, though. I think it should be added back in. It
rules online are the
probably-
correct rules.
Okay.
Probably never applied. Now it does.
But there is no 6.6 to those rules.
6.6 again, Alderman Rainey.
6.6, yes, I will. It says 6.6. 6.6, it's under citizen participation. It says, the right of a council member to address the council on a question of personal privilege shall be limited to cases in which the member's integrity, character, or motives are assailed, questioned, or impugned. That's what it says.
Make a motion to put it back in?
I don't think.
We
it
have
does.
a motion pending.
Then it probably just ends up being a shouting match or
Right.
something. I don't know, but I think,
So
I just don't see that we're solving the problem.
the motion pending is to make no changes to our rules governing citizen comment. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Nay? No. So 4 opposed, and 6 in favor of as is.
Could we see hands? So
All in favor, hands up. 1, 2, 3.
Leaving
Leaving it as is. Supporting the motion to leave as is. That's 6 and 4 opposed. Thank you. Moving on to approval of our minutes from April 2nd, 2012. Is there a motion? Our minutes from April 2nd.
Move approval.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Third item on our agenda, discussion of,
We
is
just
this an
did.
error?
I believe the first item number
Oh,
2
was actually
was
citizen
the actual
comment.
citizen comment.
Do we have any citizen comment for tonight? We can move on to item number 5, which is the resolution as to the constitutional amendment. I know we have one speaker to address that agenda item.
And Madam Chair, there's a resolution before you. I don't know if it needs any explanation or reading, but the title is the City of Evanston support of a constitutional amendment to effectively overturn the U.S. Supreme Court's conclusion in Citizens United versus FEC related to constitutional rights for corporate entities.
Mr. Tom McAuliffe is here to address the resolution. This comes to us via Alderman Tendem.
Good evening. I was here a month ago and spoke very briefly about this subject. I'd like to speak briefly again, not repeat what I said, but a couple of additional comments that might provide some additional useful perspective on this. It was January 21, 2010, when the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in the Citizens United case and overturned a century of campaign finance law by allowing corporations to spend unlimited amounts of money to promote or defeat candidates. That had been prohibited ever since the first significant campaign reform legislation had been passed. Their decision was based on the belief that corporations' free speech rights are protected under the Constitution. However, there is no long-standing precedent or rationale for granting corporations and other artificial entities that type of protection of speech by the Constitution. Actually, a number of the founders expressed very clearly concern, wariness about the power of commercial interests in the political process. And Justice John Paul Stevens said the following in his dissent to that ruling: the financial resources, legal structure, and instrumental orientation, meaning profit-oriented orientation of corporations, raise legitimate concerns about their role in the electoral process. Our lawmakers have a compelling constitutional basis, if not also a democratic duty, to take measures designed to guard against the potentially deleterious effects of corporate spending in local and national races. At bottom, the Court's opinion is thus a rejection of the common sense of the American people, who have recognized the need to prevent corporations from undermining self-government since the founding, and who have fought against the distinctive corrupting potential of corporate electioneering since the days of Theodore Roosevelt. It is a strange time to repudiate that common sense. In order for Congress to pass campaign reform legislation that won't be overturned in the future, we need to pass an amendment establishing that rights protected by the Constitution belong to natural persons only and do not extend to corporations and other artificial entities, and that the U.S. Congress and state governments have the right to regulate corporate and special interest group expenditures in the electoral process. Americans overwhelmingly support greater restrictions on campaign spending. A poll was taken a few weeks after the Citizens United ruling and resulted in the following: 80% of respondents said they opposed the High Court's ruling, with 65% strongly opposed. And the polls demonstrated a broad nonpartisan support by 85% of Democrats, 76% of Republicans, 81% of independents. So while this will be a multi-year project, I believe the odds of ultimate success are very high, given the extremely strong and widespread support for reducing the ability of special interests to buy influence through massive spending. A key goal at this point if you look at the overall process in moving toward an amendment, is building awareness of this issue and popular support for a constitutional amendment. An Evanston resolution, I believe, is an important step in that direction. As next steps after passage of the resolution, I believe the following actions are key. There are three. One is to spread local awareness via the press to make sure that people in Evanston and the local area are aware through Evanston Roundtable, Evanston Review, Chicago Tribune, and so on. Second, create broader awareness of Evanston's resolution if it is passed via multiple organizations who are making essentially a national movement, grassroots movement, to broaden the awareness and citizen involvement in this issue. There are organizations like Move to Amend, Common Cause has a specific initiative in this area, Public Citizen, United Republic, and others. There literally are thousands and probably tens of thousands of people actively working now on this issue. 3, work with our state and national legislators to develop a plan for broader awareness and political action. That's one of the things that I'd like to help to take on. At the state level with Daniel Biss, Jeffrey Schoenberg, at the national level with Richard Durbin, who is a co-sponsor of a bill introducing language for a constitutional amendment with Jan Schakowsky and with the staff of Mark Kirk. So I urge you to pass the resolution and once again establish Evanston as a leader on critical issues of national concern. Thank you.
Any questions? Mayor Tisdall.
No, I move approval of Resolution 40R12.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That's a unanimous approval of the resolution. Thank you, Mr. McAuliffe.
Thank you.
Alderman Holmes.
What can we do? What can we do locally
Mr.
to begin the process here at home, even in our local elections? Do you have ideas for that?
Can you help us? If you have, come back to the podium, please. And
Yes, I don't have a specific roadmap mapped down for a local election. Clearly, the first step, again, regardless of whether it's local, state, or national, is awareness of this issue. And I think a lot of people are aware, but I don't think it's clear to a lot of people how really serious this issue is, how big the money has become, how corrupted. And that doesn't mean illegal activities. It means legal, activities that are now legal, that end up distorting the election process and the decision-making process after the election. So, a strong focus on awareness is certainly the key step. And I'm very interested and have begun, talking with a number of people about this locally, what we can do. And it's at the local level, the state level, and the national level. So I'd be very much interested in, ongoing discussion as I personally, this is one of my personal missions.
so with our approval tonight, this will go to the council for Monday night, and I expect a unanimous vote. Just saying.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McAuliffe. Next agenda item, I think this goes to Mr. Bobkowitz, salary recommendation for elected officials.
Yes, Madam Chair, members of the committee, you have a memorandum from the Corporation Council highlighting Section 1-5-9 of the City Code, providing that aldermanic compensation structure shall be reviewed by a non-aldermanic committee every 4 years. Parallel requirements exist for the mayor as well, and I believe also the memo goes on and refers to the city clerk, the township assessor, and the township supervisor. We are proposing, first of all, just to make the council aware of this provision. Mr. Farrar and I have met with the mayor. She's indicated a willingness to move forward with appointing such a committee. We just wanted to have it on your agenda to make you aware that this process was underway and to answer any questions.
Mayor Tisdall.
It's my understanding, Alderman Grover, that I am supposed to appoint a committee to review the salaries, and that's what I intend to do. And if anyone wants to suggest names for that committee, Sue, you shouldn't be sitting in the audience, which proves you are experienced. But I would be more than happy to have suggestions.
You don't need this committee's approval, Mayor Tisdall, for the go-ahead to appoint the committee?
I believe that's something that I am indeed supposed to do.
Great.
You can approve my doing it if you wish.
I move that we approve Mayor Tisdall carrying out her duty of appointing a committee to review salaries of all the elected officials. And that it really be a mayoral issue and not in the city manager's office at all, that it really be with the elected official who's charged to do this.
I believe we have a speaker. Clerk Green. Give me a second.
Okay. Yes, the mayor does appoint what we call the Blue Ribbon Committee, but the city clerk submits a report to the Blue Ribbon Committee from a survey of all of the elected officials in the area and suggest compensation for the elected officials in Evanston. So the city clerk would then present a suggestion of fares like I did last year before. It's got to be 180 days before the next election.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. I don't know if this requires action, but there is a motion. It's been seconded to allow the mayor to proceed with her mayoral duties on this.
No, to encourage the mayor.
Encourage the mayor.
Oh, thank
a motion
you.
to encourage the mayor. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Is there any new business? A motion to adjourn?
Move.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Thank you.
There will be a 5-minute break before the council meeting. Well,
Thanks,
Johanna
Wally.
needs to set up her phone.
I'd like to have 20 minutes.